you so much for joining us, Team Choked. How are you all now after we are in between lockdown and unlocked phase? Is the sanity level good?
No. Sanity level is not good. I'm almost like insane. I'm bordering on insane right now.
But insanity is good now for creative people. They create more.
I don't think so. I like to create when there's chaos. Right now, creating seems like a job. Writing seems like a job. So I can't. I've never been able to do a job. I like to enjoy things.
What about you, Roshan and Saiyami? How's it going with you? Come out sane out of this?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, and I think okay is good enough for right now.
There are good days, there are bad days. I just miss doing this in real. If we were sitting in person, it would have been so much more fun. We would have irritated Anurag the whole day. Right now, he's just on a screen. So I miss human interaction a big way.
So as you said, miss irritating him. So what was the set like? What was it like on the set?
They used to bug me all the time. They used to bug me all the time. They're just too many questions. Too many questions. Every scene they will ask, why am I doing it like this? Why am I doing it like that? Too many questions.
That's his perspective. I had a lot of fun on set, and we were actually living with AK in his house. So Roshan, me, and the editor, and his DA. So all of us used to live in his house. So he really had enough of us in 25 days. But it was lots of fun. Even set, it was like one big family going on set together. I used to drive Roshan, and it used to just be lots of fun together. So I'm really missing it.
And also,
I was a nuclear family. Roshan, you go ahead first.
No, I was just saying that you used to bug us just as much as we bugged him. So it's only fair that the right amount of bugging was happening.
I was actually a nuclear family in a joint family. So.
Yeah, he used to just go off to his room and be on his phone when we used to have all his expensive chocolates and alcohol from his fridge, so we didn't complain.
So now you have no stock left of the chocolates or the alcohol?
I am always stocked up. I never run out of it.
That's good. So now talking about choked, Paisa Bolta Hai, it's actually very relative at the moment because aajkal to all economies are choked. So had you thought that this would actually real would imitate each other?
No, when the script came to me, it was only about the money. Actually, demonetization happened after the script came to me. And then we included and rewrote and put demonetization into the film. But money the situation of money has always been like this. It's always, our economy has consistently been getting down. And the world over, hota rehta hai, because the balloon, we are all living in this economic balloon everywhere across the world. It bursts from time to time. And we come back to reality. Right now, it's not just burst, it's like torn apart. So,
which is true. But what was your idea behind it? Because you've been vocal about demonetization, but here you see a very balanced narrative. You've not totally gone ahead and said what you wanted to, which we heard you say. Managed to strike that creative balance.
No, it is because also we are telling the story, a very middle class story. It also came from Nihit Bhave, who's the writer. And Nihit wrote a story of this very middle class wife and husband. It was a magic realism wala script, which the sink gives them the money and the marriage is kind of choked. And then the demonetization happened that we brought into the film because then suddenly everything became relevant. I wanted to make sense of it. I'd already burnt my hand with no smoking before. The people like to have a logical explanation to things, and demonetization gave it that. But things that, if you really dig into my tweets, you'll realize my first reaction to demonetization was like everybody else. I thought it was something really good and thought through. I got a perspective on it only after a month. I was like, no, nobody had thought it through. There was no money. They asked to replace money, but there's nothing to give back. So there were always limits, and there was these lines, and there's so many problems that happen. So I got a perspective on it much later. But initially, I was also one of those people who said, oh, it's a great decision. Maybe it's like really will help us get rid of black money. And then my friends who are economists and people, they were like, listen, you don't understand how economics work. So please ask before you react. So yeah, the thing is, and the film, it was very hard to not let your politics seep into the film. And I had my actors who were always telling me, sir, Sarita cannot sound like you on Twitter. Sarita is a housewife who's low middle class. This is not your Twitter. This is a film. This is a story of Sarita and Sushant. This is not your story. When somebody will make a story on you, then you can sound like you.
But Sarita and Sushant, I mean, Roshan, were you kind of influenced by him? That I'm going to ask as you manage to balance it out. And also, do you guys do a background check of the characters you have to play? Because the two characters are very removed from your own reality.
Yeah, of course, a background check or coming up with some sort of a backstory definitely happens, and that happened, in fact, through conversations with AK and with Nihit, and especially for me, Sushant is basically a man who's at his worst phase in life right now when the movie happens. So to understand how he would behave in that phase, it's very important to also know what he thought he was going to become, or what his better years were like. What was he like when he was in college? Was he a popular kid? Was he someone everyone rooted for, someone everyone thought would be a success story? So it was really important to have that in mind to see what he would be like on this side of things. So yeah, we did have some sort of a backstory sketched out.
Sammy, what about you?
I think that backstory goes into every actor's working, before you start a film. Personally, for me, that is my most favorite part, is because you sit with a director, you sit with the writer, you sit with your co-star if he's willing. Not all co-stars are willing to go into a history and go into improvisations and stuff. But I got really lucky with Roshan because he was on the same page and he was more than willing to kind of dig into the past of Sarita and Sushant, which helps us when we eventually, start shooting. So Nihit was with us, the writer of our film. And, he used to come up with what he thought Sarita Sushant were, where they came from, what they did. And then Anurag sir's styles are very different. He says, aap logon ko jo karna hai karo, but don't complicate things. It's not so complicated at all. But set par aa jao, script itna mat padho. So actually, he used to start shouting at us if he saw us reading the script. So when we were living in his house, we actually secretly left his house, went to a friend's house. So Roshan and I could do like improvisations on the first time Sarita Sushant met, the first fight they had, and stuff like that. That is just something for our security we do. But I think every maker has a different style of working. So Anurag sir's style is very just throw you into the deep ocean and probably get out spontaneity from you. That's his style. And I mean, you've seen it in all his films. It's definitely, you see actors actually performing really well. And probably the best performances of most actors have been when they've been directed by Anurag Kashyap. So obviously he has a way of working which you should surrender to. So we did secretly go and find the histories of our characters because that's also fun for an actor. But we also surrendered to his ways.
Anurag, tell me, where did you devise this way? Script nahi padenge, aise karenge. I mean, there must have been something that made you develop this kind of...
Yeah, because I used to do a lot of theatre and then I also did some movies as an actor very early on in my life. Like when I started out back in 93, 94, I did some 4-5 films and it's in the very art house films in the lead role with very established directors. And I was so terrible in it. And when we realize that why you're good on stage and you're so terrible on screen, and by being a bad actor on screen, I understood what really is the problem, because we tend to think too much and we make our own graphs. And what happens is we tend to forget that things happen in the moment. So the graph or the arc of the character only comes at the end of the story. That's when you look back and realize, okay, this has been the journey. But when we start making the journey in our head before we do it, we make it so predictable that the audience knows what he's going to do next. Because we tend to think logically. Life does not happen logically. Life does not unfold logically. So my thing is like, no, what am I going to do next moment? And that's like how I want to keep it in the movie. And the overall graph comes in the film when the film ends. The problem is people start trying to predict where it's heading. And I have done that in the past and I have failed and I've hated myself on screen. I can't stand myself on screen. So when I'm directing, I surrender to the director, but I can't watch myself. So which is why I like to direct actors in a way where they're in the moment. And actors, not when you are in the moment in live, I'm not thinking what happened before or what's going to happen after. I'm in the moment. I want my actors to be in the moment. So it have to be true in the moment, and they're not to be thinking that if I do this, then the next scene will make sense. You don't know what the next scene is going to be in real life.
True.
So that's why I like them to not prepare.
Which is true. So Roshan, coming from a theatre background, you could like relate to this mechanism.
It was completely new to me. It was I used to do a lot of preparations, and I guess it also comes from a point of wanting so hard to make the most out of an opportunity that you get or a project that you work on. So after working with AK, I've realized that I used to overwork. He used to yell at me for reading the script as much as I used to and for thinking as much as I used to. So I used to come with exactly this. I used to come with a very clear picture of how I was going to do a particular scene. And then obviously what happens in the moment does happen, but I did come loaded with all of these ideas. And I think 2 or 3 days into the shoot, he walked in. I was sitting at home reading the script again, and he did, "Abhi bhi script pad rahe ho tum?" And I said, "Haan." And then he said, "Mat pado. Now just turn up on set. Come like you're going somewhere else, and you like get into costume and come there. See what happens in the moment." And I had a really good day at shoot the next day when we were shooting a scene, and he was very excited about us improvising. He let us go on. The scene went much past the end of the scene in the script, and I really enjoyed that as well. And also because it's him, and because I've seen his films and I really like his films, it's also very easy to trust him with the whole thing, that I can completely let go of what I usually do as my process. I'll do exactly what you want me to do. You take care of the rest. It was easy enough to do it because it was him. I don't know how that would have turned out if it was someone I hadn't seen any work of. But yeah, this was a great experience for me.
And Saiyami, what I like about Anurag's movies also his women. The actors they could be quirky also. They have a lot of shades to them. Was that also something a defining factor for you to say yes?
A defining factor for me to say yes actually was when he sent the script across to me. I read it in one go, and I couldn't keep the script down. Lots of times when I read stuff, I get really bored when I'm reading things. I take my time to read it. With this script, I think Nihit, a writer, had so beautifully captured a Maharashtrian setting, a house, a middle-class house in Bombay. I related to it because it felt like this has happened in our neighborhood when I was younger. So it just felt very, very relatable. And also any actor who's offered such a meaty part, I don't know why they would say no just because you have to play a mother or just because you're not, wearing makeup in the film. Those are not the ideas that I had before kind of signing a film. And then, of course, it was going to be directed by the Anurag Kashyap. So I don't know why an actor would say no.
Absolutely. And Anurag, this movie also questions middle class morality because usually you have
it's a moral tale. It's a moral tale. The whole film is like No, it was always supposed to be a thing. In the sense, we all have our things, and we all have our needs, and we all have our survival instincts. And it's not even middle class. I would say it's kind of a lower middle class who live in these old houses that they were lucky enough to get when probably the property rates were not high up or things like that. And they are not one of those new reconstructed buildings. So, they have their own lives, and they kind of intermingle with each other. They know everybody knows everything about each other. And everything is about survival. Everything is about adapting to the new world. And when they get money, everybody becomes secretive. So, but we are seeing the film entirely from Sarita's perspective. So Sarita sometimes feels guilty. Sometimes she feels like she's doing something wrong. She hides it. Sometimes she's like, I can't let this money go and give it all to Sushant because he'll spend it away. She has a whole lot of conflicts going on, not realizing everybody is getting the money. So in the end, it becomes a moral tale. And it's about middle class morality. And everybody's politics is also is on their survival. What makes it work for them decides their politics, rather than they're not objective about the politics about everything else.
It's so true. And also you said survival and adapting. Do you think now shoots are going to resume in Mumbai? This new normal, How are you creative people? How is the film industry going to adapt to it? Do you think our narratives
I
are
don't
going
know.
to change post-COVID?
Definitely it will change, but I don't know how they're going to adapt, how they're going to shoot. I'm not going to be the one who's going to start it. I'll wait and see other people, how they're doing it, because I'm literally, if you ask me, I still don't think it's safe enough for me to step out, or whether to get infected or give out an infection or make it dangerous for somebody who have no other option but to step out. Some people really have to step out for their own survival. In the sense, I can afford to not step out for some time longer than then. So I'm not going to go and create chaos and be part of the chaos that will happen outside, because I genuinely think it's not safe. I genuinely think we are underreporting things. We are not doing enough tests. I genuinely think our situation is much more dire outside than we think it is. And for me, like, my suffering is nothing compared to people out on the streets. So I'm no one to complain. And I think, and in the lockdown, the creativity is not as high as it should have been, because we all look for time off to write. But today, because we have so much time off, writing seems like a job. So I wake up and I say, okay, I have to write today. And it suddenly feels like it's not exciting anymore. You're not running against time. You're not trying to create something. It's become as mundane. It's become a chore. It's become like cleaning dishes and cooking food and cleaning the house. Writing has also become like that. It's not that exciting thing anymore right now for me. At this moment, I'm just counting days and hours. I have no sense of time. So I just try to occupy myself with things.
I guess none of us do. What about you, Roshan and Saiyami? I mean, how are you looking at the road ahead as two actors?
I don't know. See, there are all sorts of conversations happening. Anytime I talk to someone, a friend from the industry or another actor, there's always conversations about what kind of films are going to be made after this and what are the stories going to be like. Oh, are you doing a home film because I am, or this is other home cinema ideas. All these things happening. It's all, there's too much discussion right now to really know what's going to happen. I guess we'll only find out once people do step out and start shooting. But yeah, I think there's probably going to be more content being made that's of a smaller scale, and maybe more content that's going to come on OTT platforms, and that's got to be providing work opportunities for people like me. So I don't know, I'm just waiting to take it as it comes, I guess.
Saiyami?
I think I completely agree with what Roshan was saying. Is right now everything's so vague. No one knows what the future is going to be. We right now, like AK was saying, we are in a very privileged place that we don't have things to complain about. We have food on our plate. We have a roof on our head. So we don't really have things to complain about. Yet there are insecurities of what is going to happen with our careers. Where is it going to go? So right now, I think the more you keep thinking of it, the more worried you'll get, because there are no answers. So the best is to kind of, try and see how you can maintain your sanity when things are not normal, and wait for things to get normal. Because I guess safety comes first. So we'll just have to be patient and wait it out.
True. And since it's choked पैसा बोलता है, आप लोगों को सरीदा की तरह एक पेटी मिल जाए पैसों की, पहली चीज क्या करोगे?
मुझे पैसों की पेटी ऐसी मिल जाए, मतलब, और किसी और, मतलब ऐसे रैंडमली मिल जाए, तो मैं क्या करूंगा? मैं उठा के रख दूंगा कहीं, मतलब नहीं, जूते का खत्म हो गया। ये लॉकडाउन में चप्पल पहन के 2 महीना घूमा, मैं रियलाइज किया कि ये जूते जो है क्यों खरीदता हूँ मैं, इसका पॉइंट क्या है।
अच्छा, कितने जूते हैं आपके पास?
बहुत है, लेकिन अब कभी खत्म हो गया।
अभी working with people who have a lot of shoes. There's you, there's also her. She has got I think people she works with have lots of shoes.
Yeah, no, but I have more shoes than Harsh or anybody. But the thing is, I just see the pointlessness of it all now. I look at those shoes and I think they could have been of better use if I put in money in something else. I think I'm over that fad now because of this lockdown. Plainly because of that.
Yeah, but just sab chappalon mein. What about you, Roshan and Saiyami? A peti full of money. What's the first thing you'll do?
I'd like to make a play for whenever people can come together and watch a play sitting in an auditorium, I guess.
I mean, it depends how much money it is. I'd like to fund a film for myself, a story which I probably believe in. So it has to be a lot of money, I guess.
I would use the money to give it to people who are actually out on the streets working and not give it to the PM Cares Fund.
Well, final was always from Mr. AK. Thank you so much. All the very best. It's a lovely film. And well, everybody watch it. Choked Paisa Bolta Hai. We all need money at the moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Pooja.
Thank you.
Thank you.